Hi everyone, welcome to this video lecture. Today we will be talking about the various methods of estimating reliability. And my target audience para sa lecture na to, yung mga nag-take ng assessment, research, and even statistics, and related subjects. Okay? Today we will be talking about ano ba yung iba't ibang ways or methods sa pag-establish ng reliability. Okay? Take note that this lecture is purely conceptual. If you want to know kung paano siya talaga ginagawa, I had a separate video for that. Particularly, meron akong video about how to compute for the Cronbach alpha reliability. So you may want to check my video on that if you want to learn kung paano siya i-compute. For today, I will be focusing more on the conceptual side. For you to understand what are the different methods, okay, in estimating reliability. Ano yung pagkakaiba nila sa isa't isa? For psychology students, this would be very helpful sa inyong board exam because definitely covered ito sa psychological assessment. Okay, it's important na alam niyo yung pinagkaiba nila from one another. Okay, as you can see right now on screen, I'm showing you a summary slide, an overview, about what to expect in this lecture. Ano yung mga i-cover ko? So we have test-retest, alternate forms reliability, internal consistency, and finally, Interrater reliability. If you're concerned with validity, I would reserve that for another video next time because that would be a long discussion. For now, let me just focus tungkol sa, ifo-focus ko na yung discussion ko sa reliability. So let's start. First and foremost, let's discuss test-retest reliability. Okay? So, kailan ba ginagamit yung test-retest? Ano ba ito? Ano ba yung mga weaknesses niya? What are the things you need to know? Sige, let's begin. So, test-retest reliability estimates are used to evaluate the error associated with administering a test at two different times. In other words, sa test-retest, i-administer mo yung isang psychological test or instrument, research instrument, okay, twice at two different points in time. We can call them time 1 and time 2 or administration 1 and administration 2. So what's the rationale behind this? The logic behind this is that kung totoong reliable yung test, okay, given na wala naman nagbabago dun sa tao or sa situation niya, okay, dapat same yung result, same yung magiging outcome ng test. If you will take the same exam twice, okay, theoretically, dapat yung makukuha mo, pareho yung score. Kunyari naka-70 ka on the first try, given na walang nagbago sa'yo, dapat makaka-70 ka pa rin on the second try. Okay? Or if you take a test about extroversion, if it turns out in the first take that you are an extrovert, dapat ganun pa rin yung outcome sa second take. Okay? That is one way for us to say na yung test ay reliable. If it yields consistent results across time. Because, say for example, if pabago-bago yung outcome niyan, okay, nagiging questionable yung isang psychological test. For example, today extrovert ka, then after 3 days biglang introvert ka na. Okay? Especially ito yung mga bagay na hindi naman expected mag-change agad-agad. Kasi mga traits ito. Okay, speaking of that, let's look at the second bullet. This type of analysis is only of value, okay, is of value only when we measure traits or characteristics that do not change over time. So kakasabi ko nga lang a while ago, okay, sa test-retest dapat yung concern mo ay mga variables na hindi nagbabago over time, mga traits. Okay? So, here are some examples of psychological traits. Yung big five, ocean, openness, consensuousness, extroversion, agreeableness, neuroticism, and other traits out there na hindi expected magbago basta-basta. Because traits are supposed to be stable, hindi pa bago-bago. Hindi naman biglang from extrovert magiging introvert ka na agad. There are characteristics that are stable over time. Okay? Kung yung isang characteristic ay constantly changing, like what you can see on the third bullet, okay, tests that measure some constantly changing characteristics are not appropriate for test-retest. Ibig sabihin, kapag yung mini-measure mo is something na expected to change, okay, you're not supposed to use test-retest because once again, test-retest is only for characteristics that are stable. Remember, test-retest starts with letter T. The same with the word trait. Traits are stable, hindi pa bago-bago. Kapag yung isang bagay nagbabago-bago, kaya madalas siya nagbabago-bago, very unstable siya. For example, ang tawag natin sa kanila, by the way, ay states. Okay, for example, yung mga emotions, disappointment, sadness, okay, being unhappy, being lonely, okay, being sad. These are examples of states. Hindi sila traits, rather they are states. And if your test is designed to measure states and not traits, then I suggest na wag mong gamitin yung test-retest. Because, think of it like this. Today, kunyari masaya ka, then after 3 days, your happiness will turn into disappointment or vice versa. From being disappointed, after 3 days, you will become happy or maybe bukas lang happy ka na. Okay? Eh di kapag nag-take ka ng test measuring what you feel, iba yung magiging outcome. But it doesn't mean necessarily na pangit yung test. It just so happen na, okay, nagkataon lang, okay, na nagbago ka. And it doesn't mean na pangit yung test. Nagkataon lang kasi na yung minimeasure na characteristic is pabago-bago. Which is why it will turn out na magmumukha siyang unreliable. So remember, no, tandaan niyo yung mga to, no? Remember itong mga assumptions na ito. Kailangan ma-fulfill sila. Dapat trait yung minimeasure mo, hindi dapat state. Another thing to remember ay yung tinatawag na practice effect, which is madalas na-observe siya sa mga tests that measure abilities like intellectual ability, achievement, o kaya aptitude. Okay? Kapag, kasi sa test-retest, you take the same test twice. You don't change anything about the test. So, minsan, ang nangyayari, when you take the same test again, you will get a higher score. Kunyari, quiz. You take it twice. In the second take, pwedeng nag-review ka before you take it. O kaya naman, magaling ka na mag-take ng test. You learn from your mistakes. O kaya, unfortunately, pwedeng nakita mo yung tamang sagot. No? Sana hindi naman. What the common outcome is that in the second time you take it, you get a higher score. And that's what we call practice effect. Isa yan sa mga kalaban ng test-retest. Which is why it's important na yung test-retest, tinitake into account din natin yung time, okay? Yung oras na lilipas in between the administrations. Kung masyadong magkadikit yung two administration, for example, after 3 days, expect that there will be carryover or practice effects. Okay? Kapag naman masyadong matagal yung duration, for example, after 6 months, pwedeng wala na masyadong practice effect because naturally nakalimutan na nila yung test items. But another possible consequence is that pwede naman na nagbago sila. Changes in the participants. Okay, so may mga pros and cons ito. Okay, na kapag masyadong maiksi, dapat, pag masyadong maiksi, pwedeng may practice effect. Pag masyadong matagal, pwede naman nagbago sila. So it's important that you are aware of these things. Aware kayo sa mga bagay na ito. Na importante kasi that they are controlled for. Okay? Kung hanggat maaari, dapat walang magbabago sa participant mo. Anyway, there are some things beyond your control. Pero kung kaya sa research mo na, yung sa participant mo na walang major changes, no, they're really controlled, then that will help you establish the test-retest reliability of an instrument. Okay? So, anyway, moving forward, what we're concerned with sa test-retest is what we call the coefficient of stability. You should be able to show that there is correlation, a significant correlation, between the scores in the first take and in the second take. Okay, dapat correlated sila. In order for us to claim that the scores are reliable across time, stable sila. And the rule of thumb is that the correlation should at least be 0.70 or higher. And to do that, to establish test-retest reliability or stability, we use Pearson R. So you will get the overall score for the first administration and the overall scores of the participants in the second administration. Now you correlate their score from first to second, from the first and the second administration. And if there's a significant correlation, it means that there's the scores are stable across time. If nagbago, Okay? If nagbago yung score, edi questionable yung stability niya, meaning mababa yung test-retest reliability. Okay? So anyway, ito yung mga common threats to test-retest. Una, practice effect. No? Na-discuss na natin siya a while ago. Pangalawa, yung mortality. In other words, pwedeng from the first and second test administration, yung iba mong mga participants, hindi na sila mag-participate. Okay? Like sa kunyari, meron kang research, no, and you have to test them twice. Ang nangyayari sa second administration, hindi na sila bumabalik. So, in other words, isa yan sa mga downsides when doing test-retest. When you do a study na across time, hindi na maiiwasan that some of your participants will no longer be participating in the second administration, in the second part of the data gathering. So that's something to consider when you are looking for a method, no, on how to establish your reliability, the reliability of your instruments. Changes in the participants, once again, pwedeng bumaba yung reliability, not because the test is poorly made, not because the test is not reliable across time, but rather nagkaroon ng changes sa participants. No? Kunyari, nakaranas sila ng major historical event, okay, like the COVID-19 pandemic or a war or whatever. Okay? Or maybe combination of all these factors. No? Hindi lang siya yung practice effect lang, mortality or changes. Pwedeng lahat yan present sa isang study. Okay? Which will make it harder for you to establish the test-retest reliability. So alternatively, knowing these, no, knowing na ito yung mga downsides ng test-retest, let me introduce to you a second way of establishing reliability. We have the alternate forms or parallel forms reliability. Yung ginagawa naman natin sa alternate forms is that gumagawa tayo ng set B ng isang questionnaire. Di ba kung may set A, may set B. Tapos sa set B, it's important na hindi lang siya dapat ginumble. Dapat iba talaga yung phrasing for us to say na alternate form siya. Iba yung pagkatanong. Hindi yung iniba lang yung ordering ng number. Dapat iba yung pagka-deliver ng question pero same yung thought. Pwedeng i-paraphrase. Okay? Or pwedeng same concept or same topic siya pero iba yung tamang sagot. Pwedeng ganon. Okay? Basta dapat may similarity in the idea. Okay? O kunyari si teacher gagawa ng set A at set B. No? Tapos magkaiba yung tanong sa A at sa B. The important thing here is that dapat equivalent sila. Regardless which form you will take, the set A or the set B, dapat same pa rin yung magiging outcome niya. Same pa rin yung magiging score mo. Okay? Kasi kung hindi, magiging questionable yung pagkakaroon mo ng set A at set B. If it's easier to get a higher score sa set A, then magiging questionable yung set B mo. Bakit mas mahirap siya? Are they really alternate forms? Are they really equivalent? Okay? Kaya dapat parehong-pareho sila. Which is why, for some scholars, this is the most difficult type of reliability na ma-establish. Kaya hindi lahat ng test may alternate form. Okay? Ang tawag sa correlation, say for example, we can ask the same group of people to take set A and set B. Ideally, dapat same yung score nila. If hindi man same, dapat magkalapit. Tapos i-correlate natin yung mga scores nila. Okay? Tapos ang tawag sa correlation ng scores between set A and set B is the coefficient of equivalence. If test-retest is concerned with stability, alternate forms is concerned with equivalence. And there are two ways to administer alternate forms. Pwedeng immediate, ibig sabihin, ibibigay mo na agad yung set B on the same occasion. Okay? Set A tapos followed by set B. Or pwedeng baliktarin, set B followed by set A. Or pwedeng delayed. Bigay mo yung set A ngayon, then after 6 months or after 1 week, yung set B naman. Okay? So para ka nag-test-retest, but you control for the errors brought about by having the same set of items. Kasi nga, iniba mo yung questions. Nababawasan yung practice effect, pero hindi niya totally natatanggal. Okay? Ba't hindi niya totally natatanggal? Kasi the mere fact that meron ka na experience in taking the test, gumagaling ka, nag-i-improve ka as a test taker. Pero unlike test-retest, this time, the practice effect is mas lumiit yung effect niya. No? Napaka-negligible, hindi naman negligible, pero na-lessen yung effect, yung negative effect ng practice effect. Kaya this is a good alternative to test-retest reliability. Okay, yung tinatawag na alternate forms reliability. Pero what makes it rigorous is the fact that when doing test-retest, you need to ensure the following. Same number of items, hindi pwedeng mas mahaba yung isa. Same format, if one is multiple choices, the other one should be multiple choices as well. Same coverage, hindi naman fair. Kunyari, set A, chapters 1 to 5, tapos set B, chapter 6 to 10. So that will be unfair. Same difficulty. Ito yung pinakamahirap ma-establish actually sa alternate forms, to make sure that both sets have the same difficulty, because it's yung difficulty, that is something na nalalaman lang or na-assess lang natin after test administration, not before test administration. Okay? Kaya napakahirap ma-establish ng item difficulty. Okay? Kasi kailangan i-test mo muna yung mga instrument na na-develop mo for you to know kung difficult ba sila or easy. Okay? So kailangan talaga mag-pilot testing ka muna dyan. Same instructions, same time limits, and same illustrative examples. Kunyari, identify the part of the microscope in the test. Dapat kung colored yung isa, colored din yung isa. Okay, hindi pwedeng isa colored, isa black and white. So it's important that dapat very similar yung set A and yung set B. Okay, but once again, this is the most rigorous type of this is the most rigorous method, no, in establishing reliability, yung tinatawag na alternate forms reliability. Okay. Anyway, the third one is what we call internal consistency. Sa internal consistency, yung advantage niya over sa test-retest and alternate forms is the fact that you don't have to create another set, no need for a set B. And other than that, you can only administer the test once. Okay, so internal consistency is used when the test is administered once. Okay, and what is this? What is this about? No, this model of reliability measures the internal consistency of the test, which is the degree to which each test item measures the same construct. So if mataas yung internal consistency, it means that yung mga items mo, they really measure the same construct. Okay, hindi iba-iba yung sinusukat nila. So kung same lang yung mini-measure nila, reliable yan. Kasi if all items measure happiness, then it is expected that you will respond the same way in all items. And if you respond in a similar way to all items, then your answers would be reliable. Okay? If the items are not measuring the same construct, kunyari, item number 1, math, item number 2, English, item number 3, science, item number 4, history. Pwedeng magaling ka sa math, mahina ka sa history. So hindi na siya magiging highly reliable kasi iba-iba yung sinusukat niya. Okay? So it's important na dapat to attain internal consistency, the items are measuring the same construct, the same idea, the same topic. So in simple language, it is the intercorrelation among the items. Dapat yung mga test items, no, correlated sila with one another. That's what we do in internal consistency, to establish the intercorrelation among the items. Okay? If all items, once again, if all items measure the same construct, it has a good internal consistency. Okay? So what are the methods in establishing what are the methods in assessing internal consistency? So first, we have split half. In split half, a test is given and divided into halves that are scored separately. Okay, so meron ka diyang, pwedeng mong gawin ito by odd and even. Divide the test, even number and odd numbers, get a total score for odd items, get a total score for even numbered items, then you correlate. Okay. So the results of one half of the test are then compared with the results of the other half. Okay? Yun yung ginagawa natin sa split half reliability. Okay? And there are various ways to split the test, not only odd and even, pwedeng random. Okay, iba naman gagawin nila, kunyari 1 to 50, 51 to 100. But that is not recommended, especially if the test items sa 51 to 100 are more difficult than 1 to 50. Kasi kung mas mahirap yung second half, it is expected that your score would be lower than the first half. So, anong mangyayari dyan, hindi tuloy siya mukhang reliable kasi mataas ka sa una, sa pangalawang half, mababa ka. So mukha siyang unreliable, which is why that method of splitting the test is not advisable. Mas maganda pa yung odd even. Okay? Or meron pang ibang mas rigorous na ways of splitting the test. Yung inaaral talaga, kunyari si number 1, nasa yung counterpart niya? Si number 57 ba? Si number 2, sinong counterpart niya? Si number 63 ba? Pwede rin ganun, no? Pero napaka-rigorous na nun, which is why some teachers make use of the odd-even approach. Okay, kukunin nila yung mga odd numbers, tapos even numbers, i-add nila yung mga scores. Kunyari, nag-test ka, lahat ng yung score mo sa 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 onwards, i-add yan. Tapos yung scores mo sa 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 onwards, i-add din. Tapos titingnan kung correlated ba, no? Titingnan kung magkalapit lang ba yung score mo sa odd items and sa even items. Okay. So yan yung split half, no? Maraming gumagamit niyan. Yun nga lang yung downside niya, kapag hinati mo kasi yung test, usually bumababa yung reliability because the rule of thumb is that the greater the number of items, the higher the reliability. Okay? So kung hahatiin mo yung test into 2, what happens is that, okay, bababa yung reliability yung split half reliability niya. Kasi kumonti yung items. Which is why gumagamit tayo ng tinatawag na Spearman-Brown correction formula. Yung Spearman-Brown formula, ginagamit siya to estimate, okay, or to correct the split half reliability. So upon using the Spearman-Brown, tumataas yung reliability. Kino-correct niya. Okay? Anong role niya, no? Why is it useful? O kunyari, ang minimum reliability sa research 0.6. Okay? Ideally nga 0.7. Tapos nag-split half ka. It turns out na yung reliability 0.58 lang. So questionable. Or let's say 0.65 lang, hindi man lang umabot ng 0.7. Tapos nag-Spearman-Brown ka ngayon para makorek yung split half. Tapos ngayon naging 0.72. Eh di, pwede na siyang gamitin for research. So if you are working on a scale right now and then you use split half reliability, make sure that you also compute or you also use the Spearman-Brown formula to correct the split half reliability coefficient. Okay? Meron pa tayong next, no? We also have the Cronbach alpha reliability, which is popular among psychology students, no, in the various fields, not just psychology. Okay? So yung Cronbach alpha, madalas ginagamit siya sa mga tests with no right or wrong answers. Pero actually, some reference would say that you can use the Cronbach alpha with any type of test, kahit na may right or wrong pa. Pero kasi yung KR20 yung mas appropriate kapag may right or wrong. So we can talk about that later on. Okay? Traditionally, ginagamit yung Cronbach alpha if there are no right or wrong answers. Okay? And then some would say that it is the average of all the split halves. Sa split half kasi, you only split the test once. Okay? Tapos, you correlate, no? You correlate the score in the first half and the score in the second half. Okay? Sa Cronbach alpha, you allow the computer, the software, to split the tests in all possible ways and to get the average of all the split halves. Di ba? It's like split half, but a very advanced approach, no? A very advanced variation, which is why very popular ang Cronbach alpha. Ang disadvantage na lang, it is affected by the number of items. Meaning, if you have a lot of items, the reliability surely tataas siya. Kung konti lang items mo, mababa yung reliability. Which is why yung iba, mataas yung reliability nila although the items are not well made. Okay? Because they have a lot of items. Okay? Yun yung downside nito. Minsan, porket marami tayong items, tumataas yung Cronbach alpha reliability. Although, in reality, yung test ay hindi naman well-made. Kunyari, iba gagawa sila test 50 items, 60 items, isa lang mini-measure. So, sobrang taas ng Cronbach alpha kasi ang daming items. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the test is reliable. Okay? In other fields like education, mas ginagamit yung McDonald's Omega as an alternative to Cronbach alpha. Yung advantage kasi ng omega over kay Cronbach alpha is that the omega has less stringent assumptions. In other words, it's easier for you to get a good value, okay, sa omega than sa Cronbach alpha. But in my experience, almost same lang naman yung value ng alpha at ng omega. Okay? Ako, ginagawa ko in research, ever since I learned about the omega, I also report the omega alongside the Cronbach alpha para parehong meron. Okay? Anyway, so that's the Cronbach alpha. Okay, ginagamit siya madalas kapag walang right or wrong answers, kaya madalas siya gamitin sa mga personality tests. And other than that, ginagamit din siya madalas sa mga survey instrument. No? Kunyari, test construction yung project mo. So if walang tama o mali, I bet that you will use the Cronbach alpha reliability. Ginagamit din siya sa thesis, di ba? Kasi madalas sa thesis, we're using tests that have no right or wrong answers. Okay? And finally, we have KR20. Madalas ko ito na-encounter sa mga teachers, no, gumagamit ng KR20. Ginagamit ang KR20 kapag when you're dealing with tests that has right or wrong answers, or if the test is dichotomous, meaning dalawa lang yung choices. Kunyari, yes or no, o kaya true or false. Okay? Pwede yan gamitan ng KR20. Kunyari, personality test tapos dalawa lang yung choices. Yes, no, true, false. Okay, pwede ka mag-KR20 doon. Okay, basta kasi dichotomous, dalawa yung choices. Okay? Advisable din siya gamitin kapag yung test, right or wrong. Kunyari, quiz, exam. Sir, kahit multiple choice? Yes, kahit multiple choice. Basta may tama o mali. Kasi the fact that it is right or wrong, even though marami siyang choices, at the end of the day, it becomes 1 or 0, o kaya right or wrong. Okay, so it may be polycotomous, meaning maraming choices. Pero kasi the fact na right or wrong siya makes it technically dichotomous. So sa mga exam, madalas ang ginagamit, KR20, because exams have right or wrong answers. Alright? And finally, so lahat ito, no, split half, Cronbach alpha, KR20, all of them are under internal consistency. And finally, the last method of estimating reliability, medyo advanced ito, is what we call the Interrater Reliability. It is the degree of agreement or consistency between two or more scorers, judges, or raters with regard to particular measure. Okay? So say for example, ginagamit itong reliability method na ito or yung Interrater Reliability if we're dealing with tests in which kailangan merong observer and the observer is rating somebody else. Right? O kunyari, yung tinatawag na yung mga test ng mga doctors, ng mga pediatrician for example, in which meron silang i-observe ng isang pasyente, then they have to rate that patient using a certain scale. Dapat yung mga observation nila doon sa patient na yun dapat magtugma. Kasi kung hindi siya nagtutugma, questionable yung Interrater Reliability. Okay, halimbawa, no? Kunyari pumunta ka sa isang doktor, yung sakit mo daw diabetes. Pumunta ka sa isang doktor, yung sakit mo daw asthma. Tapos sabi naman isang doktor, meron ka daw UTI, di ba? Hindi siya it doesn't leave a good message kasi iba-iba yung conclusion nila, which is not supposed to be hindi dapat ganun. If they're observing the same person, and tapos pareho naman yung pinapakita niyang mga symptoms, or in our case, sa psychology, behaviors, edi dapat same yung magiging outcome ng observations. Which is why in Interrater Reliability, sufficient training is needed. Kasi baka wala namang mali sa test, baka naman kulang lang yung training ng evaluator. Okay? At minsan tinatawag din ito na inter-scorer reliability, inter-judge, inter-observer reliability. Okay? And the statistic used in computing for the Interrater reliability is of course the kappa statistic. Tinitingnan niya agreement between the raters. With 1 being perfect agreement, -1 is the lowest, meaning totally walang agreement. Okay. And to end my presentation, here is a summary slide showing us the different approaches in estimating reliability, okay, and the common sources of error. So we have here, for example, we have here test-retest. Okay, in test-retest, you administer one form of the test, isang form lang yung kailangan, pero kailangan dalawang administration, and you use Pearson R to obtain the coefficient of stability. The common source of error would be test administration. Pwedeng kunyari sa first administration, say for example, sa first administration, medyo masungit ka as an examiner, In the second administration, mas mabait ka, definitely that may affect their answers. Okay? O kaya naman, baka na mali mo yung pag-administer sa test. Kunyari sa second administration, yung time limit, no? Mali yung nagkamali ka sa time limit, ginawa mong mas maiksi yung time limit nila. Okay, so definitely it will be a threat sa test-retest. Okay? Alternate forms, immediate or delayed. Okay? Sa immediate, in both immediate and delayed, you use two forms, so dalawang version ng test. Okay? Tapos, ang pinagkaiba yung number of sessions. Sa immediate, since binigay mo yung dalawang forms, one after the other, you only need one session. Sa delayed, para ka nag-test-retest, you need two administrations. And you use Pearson R in both to compute for the coefficient of equivalence. Okay? The sources of error, pwedeng test administration. Okay? Kunyari, baka naiba yung approach mo in the second administration of the test, katulad dun sa test-retest, and also test construction. What if the coverage of the second set is not the same with the coverage of the first set? Okay, what if the second set is identification while the first one is multiple choices? Okay. Sa internal consistency, unahin natin yung split half. Okay. You only have one form and one session. You use Pearson R and then followed by Spearman-Brown to correct the split half coefficient, no? The coefficient that was yielded by the Pearson R. Okay, the correlation coefficient. Source of error, test construction. What if ginawa mo yung sinabi ko kanina, you split the test of 1 to 50, 51 to 100, and the second half is harder than the first half. So that will be a source of error. Okay. What about Cronbach alpha and KR20? Okay. Kung ano yung pangalan nung method, yun na rin yung gagamitin mo statistical analysis. You have Cronbach alpha, you have KR20. Ang common source of error niya, test construction. Kunyari sa KR20, what if yung test iba-iba yung mini-measure niya? From English, nag-jump to science, tapos nag-jump to history, tapos nag-jump to PE. Okay? E paano kung magaling ka sa isang subject, tapos sa isang subject hindi? E di, magmumukhang hindi reliable yung test. But in reality, it's not because, but in reality, ang problem dun kasi iba-iba yung mini-measure ng test. Naging ano siya, multidimensional. Okay? O kaya sa Cronbach alpha, okay? Iba-iba yung yung may mga test kasi na may subcomponents. So if you encounter a test with some components, dapat yung analysis ng Cronbach alpha, hindi lang isang analysis. Dapat gagawin mo siya per subtest. Or else, it will turn out that the Cronbach alpha coefficient would be mababa. Okay? Especially if the test is concerned with different constructs like NeoPyR, 16PF, okay? Yung mga test na may mga subtests. Kunyari, parenting styles. If you're concerned with multiple components or multiple subtests, there should be separate Cronbach alpha analysis kung gusto mo na maging okay yung Cronbach alpha coefficient ng test, no? Nung mga subtests. Okay? Sa Interrater, yung source of error niya would be scoring and interpretation. What if one is more lenient, the other is more strict? What if iba yung naging conclusion nila because magkaiba yung training nila? And so on. So that's it, everyone. That's for my presentation about the different methods in estimating reliability. Hope that you learned a lot in this discussion. And please subscribe to our channel for more videos about research, statistics, and even reliability and validity. So that's it, everyone. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.